Hello, everyone, especially those of you who are with me live today, as well as all of you who are watching in the recording. This is our second office hours session of our Trello series. So we just released Trello for Scrapbookers, our brand new pop-up workshop. We've done these 2 office hour sessions, and I love being able to answer your questions and share a little more of the bonus features. That's what we're going to do a lot of today. At any time, you can unmute yourself to share something, or you can use the chat box if you have a link to share or you don't want to speak out loud. You have the option of turning on or off both your camera and your microphone. This is your place to just hang out, learn a little bit, and I hope you all are creating or exploring in Trello along the way here. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen, and we'll just walk through the classroom very briefly. All right. So I have clicked on the courses area in the left sidebar of My Simple Scrapper, and we can go to pop-up workshops. So the pop-up workshops are seasonal mini classes. They're just a few lessons to really help you explore a topic. We have 2 so far, Apptastic and Trello for Scrapbookers, that are both more tech-oriented. And these are part of the pop-up series because we know technology changes so fast. And we want to make sure that we can share timely, relevant information and then update it later with something new or something different when things change. And that's similar for the more technique-oriented pop-up workshops. Our first one in that section is mixed media backgrounds. And we know that trends change. Some things come into vogue. There's lots of products available. People get excited about it. You see lots of examples. And we're trying to help you dabble in some of those trends to help you see if it's right for you and if it's something you want to keep doing. So those are kind of the 2 types of pop-up workshops we're working on. We're also thinking of adding in for November, which is our 4th pop-up of the year, to make that more of a planning focused one, just because it's our tradition here to do a planning month in November. And we wouldn't want to send you down a new rabbit hole when you really want you thinking about what you want to accomplish as you close out one year and start another. So that's on our radar. We also have some additional ideas of what we can do next year. Definitely want to hear from you what you want to see in our pop-up workshops next year, and as well as what you like and don't like about the ones we've had so far. So as I said, these are all in one single classroom versus having their own because they are smaller classes. We can hop into Trello for Scrapbookers, and you can see sometimes in my admin area here, it likes to hide things. Let's see, there we go. So we can see there's 4 different lessons. And the first lesson really helps you decide, is Trello even right for you? Is it something that you want to explore? Is it a tool that you might possibly use, switch things over to, or use as a part of your whole planning system? And you guys know I love to make you think about things, have deeper conversations with our group and with yourself, and this lesson really helps you start there and think about, here's how I might want to use Trello. Then learn the lingo, helps you just really understand the features and how it works, particularly if you're a beginner with Trello. Trello is very hierarchical. We've got your account, we've got boards, which are individual kind of screens where you can see all these options. Within a board, you have lists, and within lists, you have cards. And each card you can open up and add even more information to. So once you get the hang of it, it's very, very simple, but it does have some new lingo to learn. And then in the second 2 lessons, Get Organized and Build Your Hub, we help you really think about applying some of the other things that we teach here at Simple Scrapper and Get Organized. I teach you how to copy a board template, and I'm going to actually share a lot of board templates today in this office hour session. And I have 2 in that lesson that we created. One is the bucket list template based on the new tool, how to create a bucket list for scrapbookers, a list of 12 stories that you want to have told before you, quote unquote, kick the bucket. These are 12 stories that are really important to you. And the whole point of that particular exercise is to help you focus. It can feel so overwhelming with, I want to scrapbook all these stories, but if you can narrow it down to 12, it gives you just a little container to always jump back to when you want to tell a meaningful story. And then finally, in Build Your Hub, we kind of bring together a lot of different ideas. The bucket list tool, the Scrapbook Your Way workbook, even the Simple Scrapbooking School course, and the Creative Hub course. We kind of bring all these different frameworks that we teach here and show you how you can use it to set up one board or even multiple boards in Trello to manage all of your scrapbooking ideas and projects and plans. And it's really just a starting point. And hopefully in today's office hour session, some of these extra things I'll share will give you ways that you can extend that further, both for your creative side to Trello as well as the personal things you might want to do with it. All right, so does anyone have any questions on this aspect of it, on the class itself? We've already had a few, some small conversations in the comments there. I know some folks were already kind of even power users and are learning new things by this exploration, and others are brand new and just dipping their toes in for the first time. So yeah, if you come up with questions along the way, please stop me, ask as we transition here over to actually my Trello account. All right, so here are all of my boards, and you can see test board is most recently viewed. Last night we did some demonstrations, and we did a couple different things. So if you find this particular session super valuable, I encourage you to go back and watch last night's, because we experimented with a couple different things. I shared some different examples. I just wanted to kind of keep things fresh and do a little bit different on both sides. April said, mine didn't create the sandbox when I logged on, but I'm making my way through the lessons. I'm not sure what you mean by the sandbox. Like the example board that I shared. I wonder if it's possible that you had created an account previously and then deleted that board, or you created that account maybe before they had that example board, because I bet it's something that they have it set where it creates that when your account is created, and maybe you created an account before they started doing that. That seems like the most likely scenario. But I'm glad to hear you're making your way through, and we're going to share a lot of different other examples today. She said, I created the account in the app, but first time logging into the computer. I'm not sure. That's kind of strange. It could be something having to do the difference between the app and the web version as well. All right, so the first thing I want to do is share a couple additional Trello power-ups. So power-ups are these additional features that you can enable on a board. And in the free plan, you can have one power-up per board, but you can have unlimited personal boards, meaning that you can have a board that kind of, excuse me, is designed to leverage a particular power-up if you really, really like it. So you can have a lot of flexibility even without paying for more advanced features, which allow you to enable multiple power-ups per board. So the first one I want to share here is the card repeater. All right, so we can see we have a list here called My Repeating Cards, and this actually came up last night. So Monica already uses this card repeater power up, and she likes to keep her repeating cards in one area. It's kind of like templates, because you can't delete the first card you repeat, otherwise the functionality goes away. And so we had this idea of having one called My Weekly Scrapbooking Task that has these and these subtasks under it. So you need to help you remember every week the things that you want to do on a recurring basis. And then with the repeater power up, you can say, I want it to repeat weekly, monthly, yearly, at this time, on these days of the week, and where you want that to live. You can even have it in a different list, and you can even select where you want it to have in that list. So for example, I want this to repeat not in my repeating cards, because that's really my templates. I want it to repeat into this week, which is the next list over. And so every week it will create this new repeating card for me to help me remember and stay on track. One of the questions also last night was, how is this different from the streak one? The streak power up is more meant to help you track a single behavior and your progress in doing that repetitively. Whereas the repeating cards makes a copy of that card without you having to remember to make that copy yourself. Judy's wondering if you get a reminder of some sort when you set a due date. I would assume, let's say, so this due date, let's see here. So if we set a due date of, you know, I don't know the answer to that question because I'm just exploring some of these myself. I'm assuming that when you repeat the card, it's going to repeat the due date at the same interval. And maybe somebody else who's used this before could help us with that. But that's what I would assume. That it would just add, if your repeat is weekly, that it would add 1 week to your due date. Because otherwise I could see that not being that functional, because what you want, particularly if you're using due dates and assigning things to yourself, you want that to show up in places where it's going to notify you. You can set, let's see, you can set reminders on your due dates, the time of, and then all these different intervals. So if my assumptions are correct, then you would continue to get that reminder. But I don't think you'd get a reminder when it creates the new card, only if it's related to the due date. All right. Disable this one. Now I want to talk about the custom fields. This one is actually very powerful, and it can be almost confusing because the sky is really the limit. So what this is, and you'll notice this is different now, the custom fields allows you to basically create forms and drop downs and check boxes on your cards. So this is really helpful for setting up your own template, especially if you're a form builder, you like to fill in blanks, and having just an open description box feels a little intimidating. You can set up these forms using custom fields. Now, we tried one last night where we tried to do a long paragraph. It's not really meant for that, and there isn't a field that's long. You can do checkboxes, dates, drop downs, numbers, and then short form text. But it's great for dates because it has a date picker, particularly if you want to assign a different type of date that's different from your due date. The drop downs are particularly helpful. You can assign which album, like this is the example here, is a single layout. So you can assign what album you want it to go in and what style of layout, paper, digital, or a pocket page. And so if you do things repetitively, whether in your scrapbooking or outside, I can see this being really, really helpful for just giving you more features to check off. Yeah, any questions about the custom fields, or maybe even any other ideas of how you think you might use that? All right. Ooh, April said doing a recipe template for meal planning. Yeah, I can see that. I can even see the drop downs being really helpful too. And one of the cool things here is that you can select in the customization area. So for the which album, I actually chose to have both of these yellow so that basically the album designation label is always yellow. But you could have these even be different. You can do different types of color coding. And then you can choose again on each of these fields whether or not you want that to show that on the front of the card. So, oops, this one here. So we're not going to show this one. We will show the date, and then we're going to show these two labels. So these are displaying on the front of the card. So sometimes you feel like the individual cards don't have enough information. This can be helpful to adding more things, more levels of categorization.
As far as adding journaling, I've done, I have like a stories to tell board, and I know like if you click back on the card where it's like the card description, that you can just put a ton of text in.
Yes, that's the best ways to do it.
Yeah.
And you can edit it because I'm not sure. I don't think you can edit comments.
And then as far as Judy was asking about the due dates, I've set due dates and the reminders, and I've not, maybe it's how I have them set up, but I've not had a good luck with them like coming, because like right now I have some stuff set to like remind me 2 hours before it's due. And so I don't know if I don't have it linked up to my email or like where it's supposed to go, or if it just reminds me, like the reminder comes up.
If I didn't have it pulled up, whether I would get any type of notification or not.
I think it does now. Like it will tell you, like it kind of color codes them. So if you have something that's going to be due, I guess like yellow, and then if it's within a certain period, like because like mine was like 2 hours before it's due, then it was, I don't know if then it went red or if it was like red when it was past due and then it's green when it was done. So I tried the reminder thing, and maybe it's just how I have it set up, or maybe I need to do a power up or something to make that more, I guess, work better for my system.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That helps.
So we're actually going to talk about something that's related to this in a moment. And I do think there's a lot of different layers to setting notifications, because I know some of those will show up here underneath the bell. And then, as you said, there's some like visual differences if you're in Trello. What if you're like not in Trello and you want to be reminded of something? How do you set that up? So I'm going to share one way that I think might help with that in a little bit. All right, the last power up that I want to share though is this one, is package tracker. And last night we all thought this one would be particularly helpful for the holiday season. And so I already have 2 examples here where what it allows you to do is put your tracking number in a card, and you can actually do multiple tracking numbers per card, and you can see where those packages are. So if you have like a board that's just for holiday planning or birthday party planning, I can see this being really helpful. Maybe you have a business and you ship stuff, or you're receiving things all the time. Like if you do anything related to online shopping, then I can see this being kind of handy. And so what you do is you just click in track package, enter the tracking number and the carrier, and you can add, I don't know, I'm sure there's some sort of limit, but I didn't find one, to have them all in one card, or you can even add them in separate cards. So that's just kind of cool, particularly for the holiday season when you may, like I'm always like, oh, did that thing come? Like I don't even know, because there's like the 20 packages from Amazon on my porch that I bought on Black Friday. So. All right, so that's that one, and I want to enable the calendar power up, because we talked about this in the class, and I want to try something that I haven't done before. So this one has a date, August 24th. Let's give this one a due date of August 25th. Give this one a due date of August 26th. So when you use the calendar, you should be able to sync with your personal calendar. So it just gives you a feed. So I'm assuming this is just an ICS feed. You can copy this and paste that into whatever calendar system that you use, so that your cards that have deadlines show up there. Now, I don't know if that will enable reminders or not, but it's possible. So let's see if we can try this real quick. I am just getting hang of Microsoft's new mail system here in Calendar. Calendar settings. Try add calendars. Oh, it never lets me. I haven't been able to figure out how to add an ICS calendar. Let's Google this real quick. Unless somebody knows. All right, so you can't do it with this, but we can try it with Google Calendar for sure. Okay, my calendars, other calendars, from URL, add calendar. So now we have our Trello calendar, and we can see we've got my scrapbooking tasks, and then it jumps directly to the card. Emily layout, packages arriving. It allows you to jump directly into the card.
I think that could be really helpful as far as reminder stuff goes, especially if you're checking that calendar all the time.
Yeah, like if you're a person that wants to see deadlines on the calendar with appointments, I can see that being really handy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. At least now we have two pieces of information. A, this works, at least to a certain degree, and B, it does not work in the new Windows 10 calendar app. All right. Let's go back to this one. And then, okay. So the next thing that I want to share is pretty cool. I'm going to put this in the chat box as well. This is actually a Chrome plugin, and what it does is it shows your next subtask on the front of a card. So we're going to install this in Chrome. Okay. We're going to go back to my boards. Refresh, make sure it's, and then let's go into, let's go into community management. This is like where we manage like everything we do at Simple Scrapper. So is it showing up oh, because I didn't enable it on that board. No, let's see. Usage instructions, open any of your Trello boards. Checklist should be displayed on the front. Let's try. Maybe we need to shut the browser down and come back. Oh, there we go. Look, you can see right here, the next task showed up, and you can click it, and then it shows you the one after that. So I thought this was really cool from the standpoint of not, when you dig into a card, or especially if it has a long list of tasks, it can feel overwhelming. And of course, we want to record that information, but we want to focus on the question, what's next? And so I thought this was a really cool add-on. I wish it was a power-up versus a browser extension, but to really add that additional feature so that you can be looking at the big landscape of what's next in multiple categories, pick something and do it, and then just always be focusing on what's next rather than the long list that can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that a lot.
Let's see if it shows up here now. Maybe we just don't have enough subtasks here. Should be a lot of. Yeah, there's one here. That's the bucket list one again. Your response, curate, yeah. So anytime there's a little subtask list, it will show on the front of the card now. All right. Now I want to get into some examples of other boards to help inspire you of how you could set your boards up. And again, some of these might inspire you more creatively, and some of these might inspire you more personally. So first one, I'm going to put all these in the chat box as well for you. So this one is a reading log. So if you're a really avid reader and you want to keep things more personal for yourself rather than you don't really like Goodreads or things like that where it's public, I can see like having things inventoried here. This person has a star rating and they have books I want to be read, currently reading, and things they have read. And they've also started collections of things that they want to read in a series or from an author. So I just thought that was really fun. I'm super fascinated by how different people use the color coding labels. Like this one is a star rating system. Let's see if she has any details here. I mean, I can see you could have your own kind of reader's notes on there. I just thought this was really neat. And then similarly, there's a one that is more designed for a book club. And I was thinking about, okay, of course, how could we use this for our book club? They have team picks, current book, finished, some bookstore options. So, you know, a link to buy it and all that. Just another way of organizing information. I thought that was neat. This one is more helpful from like a family perspective. This is like a family status board. So if you can get your whole family on board with Trello, this one has like a column for each person. So what does each person in the family need to do next? So it's not just a honey-do list, but what does everyone need to do next? And then what are some topics for our next family meeting? Some of you might have families where this would like really work, and some are like, well, that would never absolutely work ever at all, because yeah. But I could see it being fun. I could see even being just fun for yourself and a way to kind of think about, okay, I need these people to do these things. And they're not going to be in Trello with you, but I need to keep track of, remind Michelle to finish her project and remind Georgie to clean up his room. So I just thought that was fancy and fun from that perspective. Now this next one, this is the one you're definitely going to want to save because this is probably one of the coolest ones I have to share. This is Trello for travel diaries, and this connects so well to the globe jotting book from last month. There's so many things I loved about this one. They've got, you know, a label section here that shows what the color coding means. Just so many different things. They planned out their travel. One day is one list. And then they basically had one card for everything they did. Some of them are just like little notes. Public toilets have a button you can press to play music. Some of them have cards with a photo and just saying walk through Gion area. So I think this is so cool because it's just a little way of documenting your trip in order without doing too much, just keeping it simple and not overthinking it. But then it also creates that placeholder when you want to go back and journal more. You don't have to create that later. It's there. You just go into the card and start typing to add more journaling to it. So I thought this was really fun. I can see a way of doing it more. You set it up ahead of time with kind of what you think you're going to do, and then you're adding records of what you actually did do along the way. And so, yeah, I thought this was a really great idea. In relation to this, I wanted to answer a question from last night of whether or not you can share a card, share something from your phone to a card on Android. Okay. So here we have a photo. This is the cake I made for my daughter's birthday. I'm very proud. It's my first time doing fondant. But it turns out you shouldn't try to do an ice cream cake with fondant because there's just too many like melting considerations with how fussy that is. So I made it too complicated the first time. But I'm going to click the share button, and just like on an Apple, it pops up with like all the possibilities of where you can share. And add card to Trello is one of the options. And I was a little worried, like, oh my gosh, where is this going to go? But you can choose which board it's going to go on. So we'll say test board, and then we'll do this week. Card name, layout I want to make, and then this page is about fondant. So then you can put a description in there too, just to jog your memory of like, I want to make a page about this thing. And then it should have created a card. So let's jump back into Trello now. We'll go to boards, test board, and there's the photo. So I thought that was really cool.
Impressive. Yeah.
What was that, Judy?
That's impressive.
Yeah, and it was fast.
Yeah.
I can see so many possibilities of you know, ways you can
For
use that.
travel stuff, that would be awesome too.
Yes, exactly. So I think for, even if you're going to maybe edit that photo later, it's just that placeholder of this place meant this thing. Here's a few notes to go along with it. And you don't even have to share the image. You could share a screenshot. You could share, you know, you could just, I'm guessing, let's do, I have like a notes app. Let's try Samsung Notes here. So I'm going to start a new note. We'll just do pen. Oh, test. It's going to let me draw. Do I need a pen? Oh, there we go. Okay. Save this. I'm going to share this. Oh, there we go. I just tried to get out of it. And then add card to Trello. So this saves it as an image. Now, what if we would have said save to a text file? So it automatically took the title of that little note that I had there and made it the title of the card. And then you can decide where it goes. So just think about anything that you can do in your phone that has a sharing feature, you can then send that to a card in Trello. And obviously the behavior, depending on which phone and which app, is going to be a little bit different. But if there's things you're like, I just need to get this into Trello fast, and particularly on those trips, I think this could be really handy. Or let's see, I wonder if this works with text messages. So let's see. My husband said, did you know that Ringo Starr is playing at the State Farm Center tonight? No, I didn't. Why didn't anybody tell me this 6 months ago? So I'm going to share that to Trello card, and then put that in the card right there. So let's go back to Trello, and then there's the text message card. So you could just like take a text message and send it to Trello and put it wherever you want it. So say your beloved says something really cute, or your child says something really cute, you can do that. I'm sure it also would work with audio files too, or videos. So really the possibilities here are kind of endless. And I would say, yeah, that's some fun functionality. It doesn't even require any power-ups or add-ons or any possibility of paid things. Okay, going back to a couple more examples. I would say this one is not the most robust, but I think it's part of what sent me down the rabbit hole of doing more with Trello and will Trello work for me. So this is Heather Ferris of the Balanced Mamas, and she has a number of Trello templates. And I found out this README one is a power-up that you can get. Can I disable it? Which maybe doesn't work all the time. Oh, let me hide it. Why is that? Patient. I'm going to read it. Let's read to the bottom. Exit out. Okay, well I will paste this in the thing so maybe it works better for you guys. It's a kids artwork and school memories board. And so it has one list per grade, and then it has a card for artwork, a card for school photos, a card for newsletters, and just giving you some different ideas. But you could have one board that's just kids artwork and school memories, and you send those things to Trello, and you have one board to keep that. I mean, I can see doing one per grade level, but having one board for every grade level, or even one set of school years, elementary school, can be kind of handy. And I don't know why I can't turn off this.
I just tried to open it on my browser and it let me close it out and use it. So I don't know why it doesn't like you very much today, but it did work on my end.
Okay. All right, it's not showing here, so that's good. So yeah, she just gives you some template ideas. You could have multiple things for artwork. She has a little description here of how to do it. She says, I prefer to break each project into, oh, there's the pop-up. I prefer to break each art project into its own card. So particularly if you're someone who's like been wanting to digitize but are afraid of getting all those photos kind of lost in your photo library and you don't have a particular home for them, you can take those photos and send them to Trello. So then you have, you know, basically a digital scrapbook of the kids' artwork, and then decide later if you want to do anything with it or not. This example is
with the kids album thing too. Like when my girls were in elementary school, I used the Becky Higgins Project Life like school kit, and they had like the best prompt cards. It was things like, who are your friends? What are you reading? What's your favorite lunch? And so now my kids are in middle school, and so I don't use those cards anymore, but I still like to try to incorporate those prompts. So I could see, in addition to like the artwork and the school photos, even just like having those things there just as like to remind you to like make a note of those things.
Yeah.
Because I usually do their school, like I just finished their last grade, like they started school today, and I just finished last year's documentation. But I forget, like, okay, so, you know, what books were you reading during the school year? Or, you know, kind of your day-to-day schedule, those things you'd forget otherwise. So I think that would be a cool thing to note as well.
Yeah, and to set up your own templates of the stuff that you do want to record. And, you know, we're always gathering so many ideas and information. So the Becky Higgins example is a great one. But where do you put that so you remember it later? Then you can just type in those prompts. You can use them again, or I'm sure even the digital card from that kit is available. You could even throw that in there if you happen to have it. April's asking, is there a cap to the memory file content per account? I would guess there is, but I don't know for sure. We can go to pricing page. That's so funny. You search for Trello pricing and Asana pricing comes up. 10 megabytes per file attachment for the free plan, $250 for a paid plan. I don't see anything here about like total per account. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So yeah, like I have 1 terabyte with my Dropbox. I don't know for sure. It's something we can investigate more on, whether or not they put any caps on that. It's certainly not meant to replace your photo storage, and you'll never be able to really, it'd be too clunky to manage it that way anyway. So, all right, let's go back and let's try this next example. This is a bucket list, and I didn't find this to be particularly exciting in how it was designed, because it's goals, up next, planning, underway, done, just more of kind of like stages of where you are in this. I did like how they had different categories, and that's how they used the labels. I thought that was clever. You know, of course, adding the images, I think, really makes a difference, particularly if you don't have a lot of information. You're just trying to visualize something. I think that's pretty handy. This one is kind of similar in that the content itself was a little weird. but how they organized it was interesting. So I've never heard of this, but she said she came across a structure for forming habits called common rule. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of that. I feel like I've read about it maybe once, and it came up in a book, but I don't know what it is. But I really liked how she used the labels. So she has killing it, seeing progress, needs improvement. So she used the labels as ratings for like self-assessment of how you're doing in any particular area. So I thought that was really cool, and I can even see doing that in like your seasonal check-in, your seasonal roadmap. Like, here's the things that I said I want to do, and then you do this self-assessment with labels of I'm doing great in this area and not so great in this area. Because we tend to say, like, focus on the negatives of, oh, I need improvement here, and make that, put that on a list, and not necessarily highlight, hey, I am rocking my photo management or my keeping up with Project Life or whatever it is that's working for you. Here's the link for that one. And then this last one was just cute. This was, and just to share a different idea, this was a gratitude diary. And so she has this set up as a daily practice. And this is where that card repeater might be helpful. So it automatically creates a new list for you every month and just gives you a home to do your gratitude. And I see that's another way to bring in your phone. Maybe it's even the photo a day project. You take your photo and you send it to Trello and assign it to a day. Particularly if you're on Android and you don't have the Collect app, which does that so nicely for you. Lots of possibilities. Maybe now, if you guys have any other possibilities that you've either done yourself or things you've seen other people do, I'd love to hear some of that.
One main thing I use it for is I have like a board is just like long-term tasks. So it's a lot of like just things that I want to do or need to be done eventually, like, I'm due to have a dermatologist appointment, or we need to like transplant the roses, or just random things that aren't necessarily a priority to do now, or that I know will want to be done sometime like in the future. And I laid it out so like I have they're color coded. So there's like, outdoor landscaping tasks, like home tasks, and like personal tasks. I think there's a few other ones. And then I have kind of my current priority list within that. And then since the other lists are all color coded, so like all the outdoor ones are green, all the personal ones are purple, I try to make sure that in my like current priority tasks, I have something from each color if possible. So it's kind of a way to achieve some balance between like, otherwise I tend to go like all in, like, oh, we're like working on the yard, and then everything else kind of falls apart. Focus on one thing. So this is a way for me to kind of keep myself on track. Or if I find that I don't do due dates or anything on those, but I think if I find that one is like hanging out there for a while, then that maybe moves it up on the priority list. So
I like that. I like that. For our house stuff, I haven't gone into, it's more detailed than it is like pretty and fleshed out at the moment. I have one card for every like part of our house. So here's an example. Here's the kitchen card. And so here's all the different things that we want to do in the kitchen at some point. And then I have things checked off what we've already done. And then I have current priority here, which is the outdoors. So, and let's see, we've done 3 things on that one. And these are definitely like long-term, some of them maybe even like 10 plus years down the road. But just to have a home for when we have that conversation of like, hey, we want to do this someday, then it goes on this list. And then when we have time and money and when those actually intersect, then we can look at the list and figure out what's next to do. Any other things that folks want to share?
I also used a board for like last spring I was in charge of Teacher Appreciation Week. So we had something going on each day, and it was a lot of like tracking. We had like raffle baskets, and then we did decorations, and we had like a reception, and like, so it was, I kind of laid out my board that was just basically for that week.
Yeah. And
it tracked everything for the week. So that was not like an ongoing board. It was like a one-time only for that project. But I think that would be applicable for lots of different.
Oh, for sure. Well, and I think that like the short-term ones that maybe have a fixed duration, those where you can just really feel like you can spread out and get all the information there and really see everything that needs to be done. It doesn't have to be something that you make pretty or curate or plan set up for long-term use, but it really helps people come together and figure out who's doing what on something.
True, because then you could share with the team. And then also we did like a lot of ideas from Pinterest. And so rather than like bouncing back between like the Trello board and the Pinterest board, I just like brought all those links and images into like Trello. So it was all in one spot. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, that's handy. I wonder, is there a Pinterest Power Up?
I don't know. I never really took advantage of Power Up. So this is like a whole new world for me.
No, there's not. But I bet there's a way to share like from, let's see if I have Pinterest on my phone. So let's say we want to share this outfit. Add card to Trello. Look at this. We'll just leave it on the test board. I wonder if the image is going to show up or not. No. It just has the link to the pin. That's kind of not as helpful because Pinterest is so visual. I wonder if it's like from one of my boards makes a difference. Probably not. Oop. Didn't mean to do that. Trello. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's not as helpful as sending an image from somewhere else. It's kind of a bummer. And this, what I just showed you, may work totally different on Apple. On Apple, it might send the image. So it's worth trying. But I would say just having the pin there, it's helpful if you want to reference it, but without the image, it's not as useful. All right.
I just saved the images to my computer and then uploaded them. Because I had the images, but I didn't do the link thing. So.
Yeah. Well, that's an example of like sometimes it's going to work exactly how you want it, and sometimes
and I didn't necessarily need the link. I just needed the image. Like, how am I going to create this poster that's so adorable, right? Like that's all I needed. I didn't need the actual home page, but
the
so I think it depends on what you're using it for too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's jump into just the Creative Hub board. 2 points that I want to emphasize here. One is that, you know, this was structured with the Creative Hub class as the starting point, with the priorities, purpose, and process framework. And then I built everything else onto that. Like, what else do we have and how does that fit into that structure? But this is just your starting point. Some of you are going to want to have single boards just for, say, story capture, or a whole board just for a single project even. So this is just a place to get started. One of the other power-ups we talked about last night was called Board Sync. It is apparently a paid power-up where you have to like pay a third party to keep going with it. But what it allows you to do is create kind of like a master board and then sync individual lists or cards from other boards. So I would say that's one thing that I do miss from Asana is the ability to assign an individual task to multiple places so that I can see it like, here's all my big top priorities, and then I want to go see just simple scrapper priorities somewhere else. So this board sync is a way you can kind of unite things across boards, cards, and lists. But we were all kind of bummed that it was a paid power up. Let's see if we can figure out how much that is. Board sync by Unito here. because we enabled the whole thing, and then it said, oh yeah, you have a 14-day free trial. So I'm guessing this is something that's really more meant for, so $10 a month for personal. You'd have to really want it to add it on, and for that to really, I could see for some people that might even replace paying for a paid version of Trello. Like, this is what you're paying for, is because you want to have that master board that unites things. But it's really more for business purposes. But it is a way of getting some of that Trello or the Asana feature of cross-linking things if you really miss that, while still taking advantage of all of this, you know, the visual richness that is absent from so many other tools. All right, any final questions about the class, about Trello, things that you might be thinking about of how you want to use it? You guys are all so sweet and polite.
I'm gonna use it to plan our trip to Italy next fall.
Oh, I can't wait to see like the plans and then your journal documentation along the way.
Exactly. The journaling thing that came up today, that really makes me excited too.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this will be recorded and it'll be in the community within the next hour. Thank you all for participating. And those of you who are watching in the replay, don't hesitate to leave questions down below the video, and we will keep helping you explore Trello and see what works for you. All right, guys, take care.
That was great.